All information contained in this podcast is general in nature and does not consider your individual circumstances. You should consider the appropriateness of this information with regards to your individual objectives, financial situation, and needs. Welcome to Sharing More Than the Sheets, a podcast to help you and your partner make better financial and lifestyle decisions so that you can both focus on the things that you love. I'm your host, Khouri, financial planner, green thumb, husband, and just dad. This segment is called Michael's Magic Moment. It's my opportunity to play a little snippet from one of our previous episodes, which resonated with our listeners, that I received feedback from, or I felt really had an impact on some people's lives. Hope you enjoy. In today's episode of Michael's Magic Moment, I go back to episode number 16, where I talk about what's your plan B. Now, as I say in that episode, every plan A needs a plan B. And when I talk about this, I'm referring to life insurance. Now, it's one of those things where you'll talk to different people about life insurance and you'll get different opinions. Some opinions are positive because they've personally had a claim, or they know someone that has and that they've received a payout. And if you talk to most financial advisors, we've got lots of positive things to say because we do this for our clients regularly and we help them with claims regularly. The second part about it as well is you'll talk to people that sometimes have negative thoughts about insurance. And it could be because they know someone that had a policy and never got paid, or they had a policy for a very long time, paid all this money and never claimed on it. Either way, it's very, very important to have this discussion with your financial advisor to really get a proper understanding as to what the pros and cons are of having life insurance and whether you need it or not. The other thing, and most advisors will tell you this, is that life insurance policies have different definitions, and there are different parts of policies that can make some more appropriate than others. And many times we've seen a life insurance policy that's been held for a really long period of time not be in someone's best interest or not really suit what they currently need. And fortunately enough, we're able to give someone advice and we're able to help them in that situation. But there are many situations out there where somebody has insurance and they think it's what they need, but it turns out to be something that's not right at all. And unfortunately, they find out when it comes to claiming, when it comes to actually receiving the payment, they find out there's a problem. The other thing is sometimes you can have too much insurance, too little insurance. There are so many different facets and there are so many different ways of looking at it. Unfortunately, nobody has a crystal ball. And when I talk to clients all the time, it's never an easy discussion it's never an easy decision if somebody works out that they don't want insurance. And it's one of those things where you don't know what's around the corner. You don't know if you're going to have no insurance set up for whatever reason, and then 6 months later, you are in an accident or you're diagnosed with something and you wish you had insurance. Those that have claimed on their insurance, usually their only regret is not setting up more of it. But this is where it's important to have this discussion and just to really understand the ups and downs and the ins and outs and all the rest of it when it comes to life insurance. So let's go back to episode number 16, where I give you my take on insurance and the part that it plays in our lives. And personally, why my opinion on life insurance may be a little bit surprising to you. And just to put it out there, and I say this to my clients very regularly, I hate life insurance. I hate paying for anything, especially insurance. To me, I just see it as literally a necessary evil. I mean, who likes paying for anything, right? And it's a necessary evil. And it's one of those things where depending on the stage of life that you're at, you may need it more or less. And what I mean by that is, for example, somebody that potentially is, somebody that's young, that has debt, somebody that has children, especially if they're young children, that person will need a lot more insurance than somebody, for example, that is about to retire and has no debt. Children are all grown up, they've all moved out of the house, and they've got plenty of savings and plenty of super, for example, or even someone that's young that has no mortgage, no debts. They're all going to need different levels of insurance. I'm not saying they all need no insurance, But I'm saying they're all going to need different levels of insurance. And as a financial advisor, the way we work is it's our job to sort of have that discussion with you and work out technically how much insurance you should have. So we do something normally called a needs analysis. Every advisor calls it something different, but we essentially sit down and have a discussion with you to work out, in the event of something occurring, how much cover do you think you'd most likely need? And we also facilitate that discussion with you with facts and figures, and we talk to you about it to figure out what's important to you, what you need, and to sort of come up with a bit of a formula or you can call it a needs analysis as to how much insurance you should have. And this will change over time. It may even change yearly, because as you get older, if you have less debt, if you have more savings, if you have more investments, if you have children and they're now older, you technically don't need as much insurance as you did the year before. That's assuming nothing else has changed. Obviously, if your income increases, if you've taken on more debt, like you've just bought a bigger house or you've taken on a mortgage, that changes your circumstance. And also, don't forget, a lot of what I've just said in the last few minutes relates to financial figures. It's very quantitative as to, how much insurance you would need, etc. But there's also the other side of things. There's the emotional side of having insurance. Like, for example, somebody may really not need any death cover at all, but that person would sleep at night knowing that they have $1 million of life insurance, knowing that if something was to happen to them, their family has that money, even though they technically don't need it. So it's not just all figures. A lot of it does come down to emotion. And the other side of emotion is the fact that sometimes I'll work out that somebody needs this much insurance, but they'll say, look, I only feel comfortable paying X amount, or look, I'd rather half that insurance figure because I'd feel more than comfortable my family receiving that amount if something was to happen. So it can go both ways. It can really go both ways. And I would say it's sort of equal. Half the time it's, I don't want to pay that much, which is fair enough because you have to be comfortable with how much you're paying. And you don't want to look back and have any regrets wishing you had less or more cover if something was to happen to you. So really it's about owning the decision as to what insurance you have, how much of it you have. As an advisor, all we can do is advise, recommend, explain, discuss the pros and cons, the ins and outs, I get essentially, of having life insurance. And the decision ultimately is with yourself as to how much insurance you have and what cover you have. Thanks for joining us on Sharing More Than the Sheets. Please make sure you subscribe to be updated with future episode releases, and feel free to share this episode with any friends or family that you think it might benefit. Please visit us at sharingmorethanthesheets.com.au to submit questions or requests for future podcast topics. These podcasts have been brought to you by Better Financial Planning Australia. To book a 15-minute phone chat, visit betterfinancialplanning.com.au.